Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Katie White, a counselor and postdoctoral resident here at UNF's Counseling Center, and welcome to episode 1 of Therapy Thursday. In this video, I want to talk about how you can set yourself up for success in therapy. I'm going to be giving you 5 tips that will help to cultivate the attitude that you need to be able to get what you want out of therapy. Tip number 1 is identify a therapeutic focus. Just like if you were going on a road trip, you would kind of want to know like where you were going and how you were going to get there. Therapy is a lot the same way. You want to at least have an idea of what you want to work on, what you want to focus on, and you and your therapist can make plans of how you're going to get there. Now, it might just be as obvious as asking yourself, what is going on in my life that made me reach out to seek therapy? And if so, that's probably an easy way to answer that question. But you might also want to spend some time just reflecting on what are the things in your life or about yourself, your relationships, your daily experiences that upset you or that you're disappointed in and that cause you distress. Conversely, what are some things that you really like and enjoy and want more of in your life and in your relationships and your daily experiences? If so, in therapy, the goal would basically be to increase the amount of time that you spend doing those good things and address the things that are causing you distress or problems in your life. You can also ask yourself, like, who do you want to be? What do you want your life to look like? And what gets in the way of you living that life or being that person? And if you're having trouble doing this on your own, bring it to your therapist. You can say something like, look, I know I need to be here, like things aren't going so well, but I don't really know what I want. Can you help me figure it out? And they will be happy to start poking and prodding and eventually come to a point where you both agree on what the therapeutic focus should be. Okay, tip number 2 is to commit to honesty both in your relationship with yourself and in your relationship with your therapist. Now, the therapeutic relationship is interesting because it kind of breaks all of the rules that you've been taught about what to feel, what to say, how to relate to other people, what to do, what's okay and what's not okay, basically, about yourself and your experiences. And in therapy, it's really important that we toss all that out the window and we try as much as we can to be honest in the way that we present ourselves and our experiences, and honest in the way that we relate to other people, in this case, your therapist. Now, imagine, for instance, that you were going to remodel your home because you got like a weird kitchen and like your laundry room's not big enough and yada, yada, yada. And instead of giving your contractor your blueprint for your house, you give them the blueprint for your neighbor's house. And while the contractor might come up with some awesome remodeling and like they fix all these weird things in your neighbor's house, it's virtually useless to you because that's not your house. Similarly, if you come into therapy and present a more watered down version of who you are, your experiences, your therapist and you might come up with some awesome explanations and interventions for that version of you, but because that's not really who you are, it's not going to be as meaningful for you. So the more honest that you can be about what your experiences are and express that to your therapist, the more likely the two of you are going to be able to come up with explanations that are really meaningful to you, and then to create changes in your life that are going to be beneficial for you. The second reason why honesty is really important is that it can be extremely transformative to learn how to be okay with who we are and to be okay being who we are in the presence of somebody else. Again, we spend so much time self-editing and critiquing whether or not what we're feeling is what we should be feeling or what we should be doing. And we're trying to rewrite that in therapy so that you can really be okay with all of your experiences rather than having to change or deny them. And you can be comfortable in the presence of someone else who you know cares about you for you rather than the more, again, convenient version of you. Oh, and I forgot to say, if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know how to be honest with myself, and I definitely don't know how to show up just as I am with somebody else, that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful in therapy, but it does mean that that is something that you're going to need to work towards. So maybe you can't commit to honesty right now, but you can commit to learning how to be honest. Share that with your therapist, and the two of you can make a game plan for how to get there. Tip number 3 is be willing to change. And I mean be willing to change your thinking, how you respond to your feelings, how you relate to other people, and your habits or behaviors. And it's really important that you maintain this commitment to change, even when it's hard, even when it's scary, even when you don't really know how to do it yet, or you don't think you'll be good at it, even when you don't know if it'll work, and even if you don't feel any different yet. I think where clients often get stuck in therapy is that they're waiting for change to happen rather than creating change in their lives. This speaks to what it means to be just an active participant in therapy. It's really different than something like when you would get surgery. You go in, you get put under, and you're pretty much useless at that point, and the surgeon does what he needs to do, closes you back up, and all of a sudden that problem is fixed. You didn't need to do anything, you just had to show up. Being in therapy is more like being a part of a team in which you have a coach. Your coach is going to examine your performance and say, hey, you keep committing this penalty, or you keep misstepping on this play. And they're going to teach you how to run plays more effectively. They're going to give you strategies for what to do in the moment when things change. But at the end of the day, you go out to that field, not your coach, and you choose to run the play, or you choose not to not run the play. So what I'm encouraging you all to do is to commit ahead of time to not just learn the play, not just learn what you talk about in therapy and the things that they might have to offer you, but to actually run the plays that you've learned. Now you might be thinking, I don't know how to change. I so deeply want things to change in my life, but I have no freaking clue how to do that, and I don't think I'm capable. Tell your therapist. Talk about what's getting in the way of you being able to make changes, and commit to wanting to change and learning how to change, even if it's something you don't feel you can do right now. That's okay. Show up as you are, be honest, and your therapist can help you work through that. Tip number 4 is to allow yourself to be uncomfortable. We live in this feel-good society where we're taught that being comfortable is good and being uncomfortable is bad. And if we're uncomfortable, we're doing something wrong and we better fix it. And while being comfortable is super fun, like we all like it, at the same time, we're missing out on a big part of life if we're always trying to be comfortable. Something may have incredible value, but be really difficult and really scary. Think about telling someone that you have feelings for them. That can be really, really scary to do because it opens you up to all sorts of rejection and vulnerability and judgment, right? But that doesn't mean that it's not worthwhile. It might open a huge door to have this awesome relationship in your life that you wouldn't have had you just wanted to stay comfortable. Just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong, doesn't mean that therapy is not working. In fact, it might mean that you're doing something right and that you're really focusing on an area or a topic that is really deep in there. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, like, I don't know how to be comfortable. I've spent so much time in my life trying to alleviate discomfort that I don't know how to sit with any of it. That's okay. Commit to learning how to sit with discomfort. And you and your therapist can work on what you can do in that moment to tolerate that distress, and how to kind of reformulate your head so that you don't have the immediate instinct to run away from discomfort and instead approach it. My last tip is to recognize the difference between fault and responsibility. So many things in life happen to us, and we did not create those things. It's not our fault that we developed cancer. It's not our fault that our parent had addiction problems and wasn't there for us. It's not our fault that we were sexually assaulted. So just because something isn't your fault does not mean that it is not your responsibility. Your life, your difficulties, your emotions, your dreams, all of these things are yours. And while that can be really daunting to feel like, oh, I have, like, it's my responsibility to change those things, it can also be incredibly freeing because we don't have to wait for someone to come in and change us. We get to do that ourselves. So I'd encourage you before you start therapy to recognize, even though the things that you're going through might not be yours, but they are yours to change. Well, I hope this has been helpful for you all, our first episode of Therapy Thursday. Overall, what I'm encouraging you to do is to identify what you want and be intentional with your time, to be an active participant in therapy, and then to commit to the process of change. if you can cultivate this attitude, you're going to set yourself up for success in therapy. So again, you look back at it and you go, wow, that was really worth it. All right, folks, I will see you in next week's video. Again, if you have questions, if you have thoughts, if you have recommendations of what you want me to talk about, let me know. All right, bye.